Alright, so now that I've wiped this permanent smile off my face, I can explain what I'm doing out here. So I'm on the Appalachian Trail around mile 640 going northbound. And the reason I'm out here is because when I thru-hiked last year, this section of the trail was not open. I think there was an ice storm and there were some down power lines, and out of breath already, they weren't letting thru-hikers do this. So I ended up shuttling around the 16 miles. And it's something that I've always thought about, thinking like how cool would it be to come back down here and redo those 16 miles. So about 1 year later, here I am. I drove from New Hampshire to Harrisburg, Virginia in one day yesterday and stayed at Angel's Rest Hostel and got shuttled to the trailhead this morning around 8:30. And this is going to be a 15-mile day. I am going to camp at a shelter and for one day pretend like I'm back on the Appalachian Trail as a thru-hiker. And it does feel really nice to escape the weather in New Hampshire. It is starting to get better, but it's still pretty cold. When I left my house yesterday, it was 40 degrees. And as I was driving into Virginia, it was 88 degrees. So it's a big difference. I like wearing my t-shirt and shorts, and it's just really nice spring weather. I've been noticing that the flowers out here bloom earlier, and it just sounds like spring and feels like spring, and it's putting me in a really good mood. I heard from a couple people that this is kind of like a dry section of trail up on the ridge. There's not much water. So right here I'm going to finish the Gatorade that I started this morning and then fill up on water at that pipe. I think I got a good night's sleep, probably like 7 hours. I think I slept really well, but I'm just so exhausted this morning, and I think it's because I didn't have any iced coffee. So that was a mistake. So I didn't really have any high expectations for this section of trail because it didn't look like there were very many landmarks, but this right here is really pretty. I don't think it's gonna be like this the whole ridge, but the view is really good for now. This bottle that I have right here is really cool. This is my first time using it. It's like a squeeze pouch from Hydro Flask, and I can just drink without taking it out. Works really well. So I climbed about 1,300 feet of elevation, and now I'm up on the ridge. And I think that's the majority of the climbing. It should be pretty tame here on out, little ups and downs, but I'm up here and it got a little bit easier. There are some big power lines up here, so I'm glad I didn't break the rules and hike this section when the power lines were down, because that could have been terrifying. I know some people last year did hike this section, even though we weren't supposed to, and from what I've heard, the people that did it said it was a bad idea and they don't recommend. And I don't know if people got like electrocuted or if that was just a rumor, but it doesn't sound like a good time. So I'm glad they fixed that problem. And I couldn't do a section of the AT without bringing some Snickers to eat while I walk. All right, I've done 7 miles and it's 12 o'clock. Right now I'm gonna look for a good place to eat some lunch and rest because I am just still so tired. I do have these that I'm gonna have a couple so I can get a little bit of caffeine because I think that's what I'm lacking today. I was just pulling out the camera because I was going to talk about how it was getting cold and windy while I was sitting up on this ridge eating lunch. It's about 60 degrees, but I started to get a couple goosebumps. And now it's starting to rain a tiny bit. I know the days leading up to this trip I knew there was a chance of rain, but every day got closer, the chance of rain got smaller and smaller, but it's like misting. I would barely call this raining, but we'll see how this plays out. I'm a little out of practice when it comes to backpacking because I just went into the trees to go to the bathroom and I walked right into a thorn bush, and I know I know better than that. Rookie mistake. It's getting more and more windy and misty up on this ridge. Oh, I can see all the mist just coming towards me. Alright, I'm gonna put my frog togs on. I didn't bring a change of clothes, so I might as well try to keep this one dry. This is where I'm going to camp tonight, the Pine Swamp Shelter, 6.7 more miles north. So I just had a little bit of a bad fall. My foot got caught on something and I kind of like projected forward, and the weight of the backpack always makes it like a little harder than it normally would be. I landed on my left palm and my right knee. My right knee is cut a little bit, and also when I fell forward I had my trekking poles in front of me and I ended up tripping over them, which kind of cut the back of my left knee. So it hurt. I gasped really loud when it happened, but I'm fine. No real injuries, just some cut skin. So I just found this, which is the southern terminus of the Allegheny Trail. I've never heard of this trail, which is really cool that I came across this. It's a 330-mile long trail that runs south from the Mason-Dixon line to the Appalachian Trail in Monroe County, West Virginia. That's really cool. Less than 2 miles into the shelter and it's all downhill, and now that I'm not on the ridge anymore, I'm not as cold, so that's good. There were a lot of switchbacks to get up onto the ridge, and now there's a lot of switchbacks going back down. See, I came down from here, and I'll go down there, and there's quite a few more of those. I like how I'm less than a mile from camp and all of a sudden I'm not exhausted anymore and I have so much energy and I feel like I could hike so much further. Can't go any further because I already have a shuttle planned for tomorrow to go back to my car in the morning and then go back to New Hampshire. I love spotting that first glimpse of a shelter. You can see the roof. That's always the part that sticks out. This is a nice little shelter. This is the Pine Swamp Branch Shelter. It's really nice, but I am gonna go set up my tent somewhere. I got to camp so early tonight and I have energy and I ate and I set up my tent, did all the chores, and now I'm just walking around because I'm crazy and I'm only in Virginia for one day, so I don't know. I know the spot that I'm getting picked up tomorrow is only 0.3 miles from the campsite, so now I'm just walking over there just to check it out. I don't know what else to do. I'm walking towards the road crossing, and it just hit me that once I get to it, I would have hiked all the miles of the Appalachian Trail. So, let's go finish this thing. All right, this is my finish. This is my 2021 Appalachian Trail thru hike. Should be around this corner somewhere. This is the intersection. Whew. Because that's the blue blaze that goes to the road. So when I shuttled around the closure last year, this is where I picked back up. So this is me finishing the Appalachian Trail. This is cool. I always had the thought in the back of my mind that I would come back and do these 16 miles. Here I am, like, I'm happy I just did this tonight because I was honestly really bored and I didn't know what else to do. So, Appalachian Trail completed. Okay, and I'm gonna say this. I consider myself a thru hiker with or without doing these 16 miles, and I know it was completely unnecessary. I know I didn't have to do it, but I did use it as an excuse to take a trip, and I love trips, and to hike on the Appalachian Trail, which I love doing. So I'm happy that I did this, and the fact that like I connected my footsteps is really nice. Makes me really happy, and I'm so glad I did this, especially before June 23rd or something, because now that I officially did it within 1 year, so that makes it a little more valid. Not like it counts, but yep, I'm gonna head back to camp now. I forget if I said this, but there's 2 other guys at camp. One was at the hostel last night and I chatted with him. The other I saw on trail a couple times today and was chatting to him a bunch. So TMI and early. So I'm gonna go back and hang out with those guys.